Henley-upon-Thames is roughly halfway along the Thames flow from its start to the east coast. As we progress along the Thames towards its source, the river gets narrower. These gallant livery men and women from the Worshipful Company of Basket Makers are trying out their coracles on the Thames, as our ancient forefathers would have done 2,000 years ago. We are now at the official end of the Thames at Lechlade. That is for larger boats, as from here on it gets narrower. This bridge, called the Halfpenny Bridge, was because you had to pay a toll of 1 halfpenny to cross the bridge. Further along on the London side of the river is another bridge at St John's Lock. The reason we visit here is because of the old Father Thames sculpture, and as you can see, it has been moved to here from the source of the Thames in 1974. We follow the river for about 2.5 miles and arrive at Crixlade. This is as far as the Romans boated up the Thames, and they had a wharf here. Another 1.5 miles along and we're at the lovely village of Aston Cairns, where the Thames gets much smaller. Following the course another few miles, we come to this public house southwest of Cirencester. About 1/2 mile behind this pub we follow the path to the Thames source, which we find a little disappointment as it's hard to read the inscription. This is the source of the Thames. We now go back to see what our friends in the coracles are doing. What better place than Henley to have a coracle regatta? We now return back to London in the period of the 1st century. Julius Caesar landed in England in 55 BC, but the Romans did not settle. It was in AD 43 that the Romans landed and made several settlements in England. We now know this as London, but the Romans called it Londinium, building it on the north side of the Thames between the two hills, Ludgate and Cornhill, with the Walbrook stream in the middle. The bombing in World War II revealed some of the ancient Roman wall that surrounded Londinium that had been hidden for many, many years. This part of the Roman wall is very near to the Tower and Tower Hill Station. This well-dressed Roman greets the commuters on their way and from work. The Romans gradually built up a large settlement here and had a very good trading port on the Thames. In about AD 100 the first bridge was made across the Thames of wood, and this was the only bridge across the wide tidal Thames for 1600 years. London Bridge is falling down is a well-known nursery rhyme because it was always under repair. These following pictures of models and maps are from the London Museum situated at London Wall. Here you can spot the Walbrook stream running between the two hills in the city. On the left-hand side of the bridge on the south bank, in Roman times was known as the South Works, known today as Southwark. These are some of the interiors of the upper class Roman houses, also on show at the London Museum. Well, that's a brief history of how London was formed. We now jump several hundred years to 1066, when William of Normandy invaded English shores at Pevensey and fought a major battle north of Hastings. Harold suffered a wound with an arrow in his eye and was overrun by the French knights and was slaughtered. In history, William is now known as William the Conqueror, and he started our royal family, which has now been running for 900 years. After the battle, he made haste to Westminster Abbey, where he crowned himself king on Christmas Day. William was advised to leave London to run itself, as it was doing so very nicely, and he could tax the very rich merchants and any goods that went in and out of the city. But he did build a wooden fort on the edge of the river by the old Roman wall, with a substantial garrison to quell any trouble, known today as the Tower of London. In 1154, Henry II became the first king of the House of Plantagenet, and he reigned till 1189. During his reign, he first started building the first stone London Bridge. Henry fell out with the Archbishop of Canterbury, Thomas à Becket, and in a rage one night in Normandy he cursed his knights for their weakness in allowing a cleric to defy the king. Shortly afterwards 4 knights killed Thomas à Becket in the cathedral at Canterbury. The king was appalled at their actions and did penance for their crime. He also built a chapel in the middle of the new bridge in memory of Thomas à Becket. In the last year of his reign, in 1199, Henry appointed the first mayor of London, Henry Fitz-Alwyn. Although the bridge was started in Henry II's reign, it was not officially opened until 1209 in the reign of King John, which we shall come back to later.